a king blessed with unparalleled wisdom, a ruler whose wealth shaped nations, but to some, he was something far more terrifying, a master of the dark arts who bent demons to his will. This is Solomon, a name that echoes through the halls of history, religion, and the occult. He is said to have possessed a ring of absolute power, a seal that allowed him to command the unearthly forces of Djinn and spirits. But did this man truly exist? Was he merely a wise ruler, or did his legend outgrow reality, swallowing his history into a myth of smokeless fire and lost treasure? Solomon was the third king of Israel, the son of the legendary King David and Bathsheba. His reign was the ultimate golden age. According to ancient texts, his greatness began in a dream. God appeared to the young king, offering him any desire: infinite riches, long life, or military supremacy. Solomon asked for none of these. He asked only for the wisdom to govern his people fairly. And for this, he was granted it all. His legendary insight was cemented in the famous judgment of two mothers who both claimed the same infant was theirs. In a calculated and ruthless test, Solomon ordered a guard to cut the child in half, giving a piece to each woman. Instantly, the true mother begged him to spare the child and give it to the liar. Solomon smiled. He had found the real mother. His reputation spread across the ancient world like wildfire. Rulers, philosophers, and sages traveled across deserts just to hear him speak. His kingdom flourished. Trade routes brought in an endless river of gold, silver, precious stones, and exotic spices. Solomon's power was absolute. He sat upon a throne crafted entirely from ivory and pure gold, flanked by 12 terrifying lion statues. But no visitor was more famous or more mysterious than the Queen of Sheba. Arriving with a caravan laden with over 4 tons of gold and the rarest spices on earth, she came to test the wise king with impossible riddles. He answered every question without hesitation. The queen, overwhelmed by his intellect and grandeur, showered him in unimaginable wealth. In Ethiopian legend, this meeting sparked more than an alliance. It led to the birth of Menelik, a son who would carry Solomon's bloodline into Africa. Solomon's kingdom was supposedly flooded with 666 talents of gold annually, an apocalyptic sum of wealth. Texts mention the lost land of Ophir, a mystical region that supplied his riches. To this day, treasure hunters scour the earth, searching for the lost mines of King Solomon. But beneath the glittering surface of the Golden Age, darkness was brewing. To build his legacy, Solomon enacted heavy taxation and brutal forced labor. His people began to suffer. All of this blood and sweat was poured into his magnum opus, the first temple of Jerusalem. Built upon Mount Moriah, the exact site where Abraham supposedly bound Isaac for sacrifice. The temple was meant to be heaven on earth. It took 7 years to construct, utilizing the finest cedar from Lebanon and thousands of tons of quarried stone. The interior was completely covered in pure gold, with intricate carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and blooming flowers decorating its sacred halls. But the most vital chamber was the Holy of Holies, a room so sacred only the high priest could enter, and only once a year. It was here that Solomon housed the ultimate artifact of divine power, the Ark of the Covenant. Containing the original stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, the Ark's presence was so overwhelming that priests collapsed during its installation. Yet, for all its majesty, the first temple and the Ark of the Covenant share a chilling legacy. In 586 BCE, King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon besieged Jerusalem and razed Solomon's masterpiece to the ground. The treasures were looted, the walls were toppled, and the Ark of the Covenant vanished from history. Was the Ark destroyed by the Babylonians? Or was it smuggled out by rogue priests into a network of secret tunnels? Some researchers argue it was transported to Ethiopia, where it supposedly rests today, guarded by a single monk until his death. Today, there is no direct archaeological evidence of Solomon's temple. No stones, no inscriptions. Did the wisest king of history truly build the ancient world's greatest monument? Or is it a literary fabrication meant to unify a fractured people? His empire collapsed almost immediately after his death. His 700 foreign wives, his idolatry, and his arrogance angered his God. But the story of Solomon doesn't end with a fallen earthly kingdom. The wisest man to ever live harbored a secret that would transform him from a prophet into the patron saint of dark magic. Because according to forbidden texts written centuries later, the first temple wasn't built by humans alone. Prepare to enter the Grimoires. This is the era of Solomon the Sorcerer. Centuries after his death, a bizarre and terrifying text emerged from the shadows of history, the Testament of Solomon. It painted Solomon not just as a wise king, but as a ruthless sorcerer who received a divine weapon from the Archangel Michael. This was the Seal of Solomon, an artifact that granted him absolute dominion over supernatural beings, blurring the line between prophet and dark magician. With it, he didn't just banish spirits, he interrogated them. He forced demons to reveal their true names, their dark powers, and their fatal weaknesses. He subdued Ornias, a vampiric demon said to drain the life force from humans in the dead of night. He bound Beelzebub, a spirit claiming terrifying dominion over the underworld itself. And he captured rebellious Djinn in brass vessels, sealing them away in the deepest depths of the earth. But the most infamous demon he dragged into servitude was Asmodeus. A spirit of chaos, lust, and destruction, Asmodeus was known for tearing marriages apart and spreading endless misery. Yet, even he was forced to bend the knee. The Testament claims Solomon compelled Asmodeus to manually construct the great temple. But the arrogant king underestimated the darkness he was dealing with. Some legends say Asmodeus tricked Solomon, stealing his magic ring. With the ring in his grasp, the demon banished the king, casting him hundreds of miles into the desolate wilderness. The great King Solomon was reduced to a powerless, forgotten beggar, wandering the earth in rags, while a demon ruled Jerusalem in his place. It was only after a grueling journey of humility that Solomon supposedly found his ring again, swallowed by a fish he caught to survive. Reclaiming his power, he returned to the city, banishing Asmodeus once and for all. This narrative of supernatural dominance isn't just found in Jewish folklore. Islamic tradition offers an equally terrifying view of his power over the Djinn. Moving away from modern, sanitized myths, these were the Djinn of pre-Islamic desert lore, terrifying entities made of smokeless fire. Bound by Allah's will, they were forced into brutal labor for the king. They dove into the seas for pearls, cut massive stones, and built the impossible architecture of his kingdom. Their fear of him was so absolute, it created one of the most chilling legends of his reign, the story of his death. Solomon died silently while leaning on his staff, but the Djinn working below did not realize he was gone. For days, maybe even an entire year, the unearthly forces continued their back-breaking labor, terrified of the silent king watching from above. They only stopped when a tiny woodworm gnawed through his wooden staff, causing his lifeless body to finally collapse to the floor. The illusion was broken. The Djinn realized they had been unknowingly serving a dead man all along. If his power was so immense, what happened to the legendary ring? Some say Solomon threw it into the sea himself, fearing its corrupting influence. Others claim it was buried deep beneath the ruins of the Temple Mount, waiting in the darkness for centuries. But some historians argue the seal was never a physical ring at all. It was merely a metaphor for his unparalleled wisdom and mastery over the natural world. Physical or not, the myth refused to die. By the Middle Ages, Solomon became the ultimate patron saint of Western occultism. Grimoires, manuals of ceremonial magic, claim to contain his exact rituals for summoning spirits and crafting protective talismans. The most famous of these is the Lesser Key of Solomon, a 17th century book meticulously listing the 72 demons supposedly bound by the king. From alchemy to Hermeticism, Solomon was viewed as a master who had unlocked the hidden operating system of the universe. But did the real, historical king actually practice magic? The Bible never once describes him using spells or commanding demons. His wisdom was a divine gift, not a dark art. Even in the Quran, while he commands the Djinn and the winds, he is strictly revered as a righteous prophet of Allah, completely rejecting dark magic. The terrifying Sorcerer King was a creation of later centuries, a blending of Jewish mysticism, Greek philosophy, and Christian demonology. A composite legend designed to explain how one man could possess such unnatural intellect and architectural mastery in the ancient world. So, who was the real Solomon? A historical monarch whose empire faded into the sand? A mystical prophet who spoke to the winds and held the secrets of the cosmos? Or the ultimate wielder of hidden power, whose name is still whispered in the dark corners of the occult today? The truth remains locked away, lost in the ruins of the first temple, buried in the pages of forbidden texts, and sealed forever by the wisest man to ever live. The ancient world crumbled, empires rose and fell, but the obsession with King Solomon's lost power never died. It simply went underground. For centuries, treasure hunters and empires have scoured the earth looking for the source of his infinite wealth, the legendary lost mines of Ophir. But gold was never the true prize. The real treasure was what he left buried beneath the Temple Mount. History tells us the Knights Templar excavated the ruins of Solomon's temple for 9 years. What did they find in the dark? Some say they found the Ark of the Covenant. Others whisper they discovered Solomon's true occult texts, knowledge that transformed the Templars into the most powerful financial and military force in the medieval world. This esoteric knowledge seeped into the foundations of secret societies, heavily influencing the rituals of Freemasonry, which still revere Solomon as the ultimate Grand Master. Today, the mysteries are no longer just myths. They are locked behind iron gates and heavily armed guards. We are left with fragments, the wisest man to ever live, who built an empire that shattered the moment he closed his eyes. A man who sought perfect cosmic balance that fell victim to the ultimate human flaws, greed, lust, and absolute power. He is the ultimate paradox, the architect of God's house, and the warden of hell's worst demons. If the texts are true, his power was never meant for mortal hands. To this day, grimoires bearing his name sit in the dark corners of the world, offering forbidden shortcuts to power for those foolish enough to try. Because the legend of Solomon asks us one terrifying question. If a man could command the forces of the universe, if he could bind angels and demons to his absolute will, what price did he ultimately pay? We may never find his lost gold. We may never unearth his ruined temple, but his name remains, a warning,